So only 2 weeks into the NRL season and already your coach is under the blowtorch. I'm talking, of course, Cowboys coach Todd Payten. There's been some disappointing results in the first couple of weeks. The Cowboys not immune to that, and they come up against the Broncos, where there's already speculation about whether Todd Payten's going to be there long term, Dave.
Yeah. Look, there's plenty of layers to this one, I reckon, and it probably speaks to maybe where the inconsistency of the Cowboys have been probably for the last 2 years. You know, their finals bound 1 year and then they miss it the following. Jason Tamalolo and Jeremiah Nanai, straight out of the blocks, left out of the team. My understanding is they're hugely influential on the playing group. They are leaders within the group, and they have allies. And when players do have as much influence as those two boys do in the group, it's very easy for the rest of the playing group to side with those leaders, and that's where Todd needed to open up the lines of communication with his playing group about why this was happening. I understand that has needed to happen, that Todd needed to speak to the players about some reasoning behind those two players missing out. Now, I don't see any coincidence whatsoever that they're back in the team. They are back in the team against the Broncos because of everything I just said, how influential they are. Second layer to this, obviously, I don't know if they're going to move on Todd Payten so soon as what you might expect if the results keep going this way. They're a conservative board up there. They don't make rash decisions, and I just don't feel as though they are at the level of frustration that maybe fans are and experts in the media are compared to what is going on in-house. So I still think Toddy Payten's got a bit of time left.
Reed, man, should they even be considering moving on Todd Payten? Because, I mean, we saw what he did as an interim at the Warriors.
Honestly, they made the finals last year. Second week of the finals. We're 2 games into the year. And I don't think there's any pressure on Todd at board level, like Dave said. He'll get the year, at least, at a minimum, I think, to turn it around. I think the pressure on Todd is, like Dave said, the internal rumblings and the whispers that are coming out of that dressing room that maybe players are unsettled and not happy with the way things are going. And Dave summed it up perfectly. I mean, Jason is the most influential player probably at that club and has been for a long time. He's been a really loyal servant. He's got immense respect in the playing group and within the club. And we've heard the rumours about Jason now for how long? That the club was trying to medically retire him last year because he's obviously got that long-term deal. Then he comes out this year, he does a Liz Frank while playing with Tonga, I think it was. Yeah. That delayed his pre-season. And the club will tell you that it wasn't Todd's decision to play him in the Queensland Cup last week. The club will tell you it was Jason who went to Todd and said, I'm not ready. Now, that's what the club's telling us. I don't know if that's necessarily true. We haven't heard it from Jason Tamalolo, but we haven't heard anything to suggest that's not true. So if that's the case, and he's straight back in this week, he played 50 odd minutes in Queensland Cup, apparently went really well. I think that'll help appease some of ease some of the unsettlement. Is that a word? That's not a word, is it? The unsettled nature of the footy club. I think. Look, he's going to get time, Todd, and he deserves time. He's got a good record. As I said, second week of the finals last year. That's pretty good effort. But there are, as Dave said, some rumblings of discontent up there that somehow he needs to calm down.
Yeah.
And look, I know
it's crazy. We're 2 weeks into the year. Look, I mean, they'll probably lose, right, in the Broncos, so they'll probably be 0-3. But even then, we're 3 weeks into the season. Let's calm down, everyone.
Yeah. And look,
I'm the first bloke to call for a coach's head, but let's calm down.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to go too far back, but obviously the decision a couple of years ago to call out Jason Tamalolo on his minutes, and Jason's a proud guy, right? And he did not like that, and that sowed some seeds at the time. And you saw how well Jason played for Tonga. And when he did that injury, as to what he's still capable of doing. I mean, he was, compared to the guy that was batting out 20, 30 minutes for the Cowboys, just chalk and cheese, right? So, but Matty Johns has written a really good column. It's going to appear on Code Sports website around how the players are actually letting Todd Payten down, because the message isn't getting through. You know, when they made that 2022 prelim final, they fell just short of that grand final thanks to the mighty Eels. But sorry, I digress. yes, there was some razzle-dazzle in that attack, but it was built off hard-nosed defence where they were compacting really well, up and in. They were, and the message isn't getting through to the players and they're not.
But isn't that the coach's job to get the
Yeah.
message
Well,
through?
that's it. So
you can sit there and blame the players, but I always say it's so much easier to get rid of a coach than it is to clean out a dressing room, right? So ultimately, it falls on the coach. And there's been, from the outside looking in, there's been this power struggle between Todd and Jason. For you said it when he called him out a couple of years ago. Then all that talk about potential medical retirements last year. It just seems as though they've, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but as an outsider looking in, it just seems as though they haven't always been on the same page. And if you're going to pit Jason up against Todd, mate, Jason's going to win that 9 times out of 10 because he's such a loved and revered figure in North Queensland, and as Dave said, in that playing group. So, while ever that friction's there, and I've got to stress, I don't know that there is still friction there. As I said, it's just an outsider looking in. If there is friction there, that's the issue that needs to be resolved.
And don't forget, this is a byproduct of a 10-year deal. To Rudy's point, it's hard to move Jason Tamalolo on, to your point, maybe medically retire him, because of the length of this deal. There was $1 million investment every single year.
Which almost has almost 3 years still to run.
That's right.
But if you're getting a good 50 minutes out of Jason Tamalolo every week, mate, you've got a good footballer on your hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like a really good footballer. And, he was punching out 50-minute spells last year that were really effective and they're quality minutes. So I'm not sure, given what they've got up there, do you really want to, if this is the case that there was a push to medically retire him at some point, in hindsight, did you really want to do that?
What does Todd Payten do now in the short term to try and turn this team around?
Well, he has to galvanise the group, and it has to start with the defence. Jeremiah Nanai was dropped for his meek defence in round 1, and the only way back is a response from Nanai. And I reckon that'll be the greatest indicator we've got that this is a group that's on board. Really.
Don't you think he's been he hasn't been a great defender ever since he's come into first grade, Jeremiah Nanai. He's always been a bit vulnerable defensively, but they put up with it because, I probably tried to fix it, right? And they haven't really fixed it.
I might be taking a broad brush to this, but this is one little concern I have, and correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel as though there's elite players in that group, and they've stagnated.
Yeah.
Ruben Cotter, Nanai. Dearden's held his own, no doubt about it. He'd get in the Queensland Origin team. And I just feel like Tamalolo's another example. Whether they're getting the maximum output and performance in some elite players, that's my concern.